Yes, a very good evening to you tuned into UBC TV. We thank you so much for following all our programs, and I warmly welcome you to this week's edition of One-on-One with Michael Jordan Lukoma, where we discuss variety of topics, be it politics, business, education, whatever sector you may think of. If there is a pertinent topic that we need to bring to your eyes or your mind or your table in your house or wherever you are, you will have it on this show. Now, every 21st of March, Uganda joins the rest of the world to commemorate and celebrate the International Day of Forestry, especially in line with the value of forestry to life. I'll put it that way. Because, you know, forests connect with food security, connect with water reservation, connect with air conservation, everything natural. You will need the forests, and you know the value. So, Uganda joins the rest of the world to commemorate that day, to reflect on a number of things to do with forests. Where you are, do you have a forest that is still conserved? Have you ever participated in cutting down a forest and things like that? You now know what we are talking about. So, we are at the National Forestry Resources Research Institute, and we're going to talk to the Director for Research here. His name is Dr. Adrico John, and we're going to talk about a number of things, but mainly our focus will be the relationship between forestry and food security. Many of us cut trees. As long as it doesn't have fruits, you get your pang and pull it down just because you think, because it is a musizi, a musasa or what, because it doesn't have fene or mangoes, you think it is not of any value in line with food. Anyway, what is the value of whatever tree in as far as food security is concerned? That is what we're going to discuss this evening. And my guest is Dr. John Adrico, like I introduced him. Doctor, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And it's a pleasure being on this show.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how are you here? How is everything?
We do research in different aspects of forestry, which I will highlight in a little bit of time.
Yes.
But it's a great opportunity to have us interacting on this subject, especially forestry and food security. Sometimes food security is restricted to agricultural commodities, maize, cassava, bananas, and we do not take the perspective of trees for food security.
Yes. Other attributes that connect with food, away from agriculture and farming, sometimes we don't pay the attention. And forestry falls in that line.
Yes. Forestry creates an environment. I would say forestry creates an environment within which...
What is the state of forestry in Uganda?
Over the years, there's been what I would call a steady decline in the forestry cover. I mean the area of land covered by trees.
Yes.
That declined in 20 years between 2000 and 2020 by 23%. And by 2020, it was at 10% of tree cover. But recently, because there's been a little bit of promotion of tree growing here and there, you know, the eucalyptus, you know, the pines being grown, and then a lot of interest is coming up on fruit trees. That has raised it from 2020 from a 10% to about 11.5%
Okay.
in 2023. So there's been a little bit of improvement, I could say, but still I think that's not adequate, because forests have a big role on the microenvironment, the microclimate that is necessary for agriculture. We usually say grow trees so that you have rain.
Okay.
Grow trees for rain. We say grow trees to capture the carbon dioxide for climate change resilience. Because with climate change comes the distresses that you know. Sometimes it's too much rain, that's not productive. And then sometimes it's no rain because of the effects of climate change. That's why I'm saying forestry is broader than just being the source of food security. And the government has actually considered forests in different policy documents. In the Vision 2040, government highlights the need to reforestate the nation. They need to conserve the forest resources that we have. There are so many policies, National Environment Policy and the Act, the Climate Change Action Plan, the Climate Change Act and Policy. So different provisions. There's even a policy, there is even an act on forestry and tree planting. So government has actually had forestry in the forefront, and the focus has been, let's conserve and plant more. Let's increase the forest cover to give various benefits. We've talked of food security being a benefit of forestry. We've talked about climate change mitigation being a benefit, but also forests provide a microenvironment within which now you have discovery of microbes that could be nutrient enhancing. So if you picked soils from forest lands and extract there are microbes that are of value in improving nutrition for other plants. And that's where we're going. They are called biofertilizers today.
Yes.
So forests play, in a broad sense, a lot of roles.
There is a belief currently that we have cut down a lot of forest cover in Uganda.
Yes.
Is it true, and what does it mean to our future as a country?
Yes, I mentioned the decline of 23% over a period of 20 years is really absurd, and it's too much. And why is the cutting down of trees? It's also important for us to appreciate why. You listening to me right now, you built a house. Maybe as you are building, you pulled down a tree or a couple of trees. People are opening up more land because the population is growing, more land for agriculture.
Yes.
And they're going to grow annual crops. So they have to fell down trees to convert to agricultural land.
Yes.
We are talking of industrial areas. Forests have to go down
For factories to be
yes.
erected.
So most of the economic activities have taken over land previously occupied by forests. But this is conditioned by the fact that the population is growing and more people need to be fed, more people need to be employed. So there is a cost-benefit analysis. There is a look at, okay, what's the opportunity
How
cost?
can we balance the two? Because the population growth brings in some needs
Yes.
that we may not run away from as a community. But
Yes.
we need these trees as well.
Perfect.
How do we balance the two?
Perfect. I would say every intervention should look at putting a tree. I have seen the private sector promoting the tree planting campaigns.
Yes.
I have seen, for us as a research institute, one of the things that we would advocate for is trees everywhere. Trees on farms. Trees in the cities. Trees on the streets. Trees everywhere. So you can have development, yet you still have trees everywhere.
Okay.
It's possible. And then, of course,
We can have both concurrently.
yes, you can have them planned well. Like you look at our compound here, trees
The
are all
buildings
over.
are around
Yes.
with the trees.
Yes.
Okay.
So for us, that's something we would advocate for. Let's have trees everywhere. And now for those that offer food security, we need to be deliberate in increasing acreages, in increasing areas under those trees. Just like we grow crops, let's grow trees as crops, especially those that provide the food and nutrition security.
I want somebody watching us to understand. We talked about how food security is a benefit of forestry.
Yes.
Technically, give us this relationship between the two variables, food security and forestry. How do they relate? I want somebody to understand why he should not think that the fene tree, mango tree, and whatever are the only trees that have value of food. Even the forest in their backyard or in the neighborhood is connected to food security.
Food security is having access to and having availability of and having food in what I would call balanced proportions, different kinds of food ingredients, what we usually in primary learn as balanced diet.
Yes.
So we've got to have all that, not just being able to access food, not just having food available, for instance, in your house, but we need to have all forms of food that the body requires. The body requires proteins, the body requires carbohydrates.
Vitamins and all that.
Yes, vitamins for different purposes. Some are for growth, some are for strength or energy, some are for health benefits. So those are different aspects that we need. So one of the direct benefits that we get from forestry is the food. That's directly, and most of the times the forests provide us with the vitamins, what we learn as health-giving foods. When you look at your mango, you look at your oranges, so they provide that kind of what is referred to as micronutrients that are needed for healthy people. So forests, talk about the different fruit trees, talk about the different trees, provide that aspect of healthy foods. And that's why the doctor will tell you and me, eat more fruits. Eat more fruits. That is from forests. That's one aspect. But also, some forest products are actually energy foods and they keep you going for long. Like jackfruit. Jackfruit will keep you going for long. So that's another product that you can get from forests. Another aspect from forests is, I say, the health foods, I said the energy giving or carbohydrates, the sugars that you get, but then there is also foods with commercial potential. And these are coming up a lot lately. We have the avocado, particularly the Hass, is being promoted greatly. Coffee and cocoa are trees, for heaven's sake.
True.
We've got to realize that. So these are foods, but with a heavy commercial value. And that's what forests will also provide for us. So there are those ones. But then there are indirect benefits, food benefits of forests. I would call them other benefits. For instance, some of the forestry species, Calliandra, Leucina, Gliricidia, are fodder for livestock. So they will give proteins to the livestock, and in turn, the livestock are healthy, they feed well, and ultimately, we who feed on the livestock, we are fed. Food security.
At the end of the chain,
yes,
the beneficiary is us.
Yes, that's another. And then trees in an agroforestry system, which I will refer to as trees on farms, have a benefit of many of those that I have mentioned also have an added advantage. Leucaena, Gliricidia, Caliandra, they have another benefit of fixing nitrogen, tapping nitrogen from atmosphere, putting it into the ground. So when these are intercropped in that agroforestry system with other crops,
Yes.
the benefit they give is that you have nutrition for your maize that probably is under the trees. So they add nutrients. They are called nitrogen fixing. And so they add that value. So you get better yields in your agroforestry system as a result of a nitrogen fixing plant or tree in your field, and then yields improve. The improvement of yields automatically means food security. So that's the many things that forests
Actually,
will contribute.
there is a direct connection
Yes,
and an indirect connection,
which
is
ultimately-
actually more massive than even the direct one, that
Yeah.
somebody may not obviously look at.
yes. So yes, and ultimately, it's food security.
Yes.
In all these different settings. But we will normally look at food security from the perspective of the fruits. But I'm saying it's beyond the fruits.
Yes.
It's every other thing that the trees will offer.
I want to bring the discussion home. Kampala, Gulu, Kabale, Soroti, Iganga, Uganda.
Yes.
Do we have this relationship, especially at a time when we are cutting down a lot of trees, when we are depleting forests for economic activities, pressure brought about by the population growth and things like that? Are we losing this kind of value that comes in between the two, the connection of the two, and where does it leave us?
I think it's a challenge we have to deal with. Yes, this is knowledge within the research circles. It's knowledge within the academia of how nitrogen fixing trees could contribute to enhancement of yields, on how these fodder trees could improve. Yes, at least for that aspect of the fodder trees, there is a high level of adoption on people's ranches. So in livestock rearing, actually these fodder trees are embraced. So you'll find on livestock ranches, livestock farms, they've embraced this. But now the connection with the other agricultural commodities is limited. You know, the way agricultural production has been promoted for yield improvement is monocultures. Clear everything and have maize in 10 acres, in 20, 100 acres.
What would be the right thing ideally?
The
Keep some trees with the maize?
Yes, yes. Integrate. Of course, there are also other crops which are annual, which are leguminous plants, which can add nitrogen, fix nitrogen in those maize fields. The legumes like beans, soy, those could be put in those fields. But I've said the notion of enhancing food security today means have nothing but maize.
Okay.
Have nothing but the beans. No mixing. But from our perspective as a forestry institute, we are saying have these trees that fix. And then also some of these trees that we're talking about have a shade effect. Now you want better yields of coffee by having shade trees. And we're saying put the trees that fix nitrogen. If you want to have an agroforestry system for coffee, you want to have an agroforestry system for cocoa, have these trees. So we are trying to encourage, at least for coffee again and cocoa, those commercial commodities, it is being done. It is possible. But the challenge comes where we are dealing with massive monocultures of annual crops.
Okay.
That's something that we need to educate, create awareness of communities so that ultimately people start to embrace trees on farms. That's the key message that I'm trying to bring. Let's have trees on farms.
What are the pillars that would help us uphold forestry in the real sense of knowing that it has values beyond keeping just a green cover?
One of those is, first of all, awareness creation. People don't know the value. The things that I'm telling you, most of the people listening to me are like, are you sure forests could do this? Are you sure they can do this? So first is a clear, structured awareness creation program. Number two is to, I would say, bring out the actual value of forests. A broad perspective. What do forests do? Is it just timber? For instance, one of the key reasons, I forgot to mention this earlier on, one of the key reasons for the depletion of forest cover in some cases is the medicinal value of forests. Of course, I didn't answer that because it was not related to food security, but that is one of the huge causes of deforestation.
Oh.
Where people debug trees to get herbal products. Of course, when you debug the tree, it loses nutrient movement and so it dries up. That's another real challenge. So
just like a human being's skin would be taken off.
Yeah.
That person can never be
true
as normal as they were.
True. So awareness creation of the value. Okay, general awareness creation of the general value, but what trees can do is the second thing I said. But then the third pillar is to look at a deliberate conservation movement. I'm glad different people are doing it. NGOs are trying to promote conservation, reforestation. Reforestation would be another pillar, really. Planting again, I said, have these trees planted in every kind of setting. Do you have a factory? Let there be trees in the surrounding. There was a time I went to New Delhi.
Yes.
In India. They have high buildings, but they have huge trees that obstruct those high buildings. It's full of trees, and that we can do also in our present setting. So that would be another reforestation.
The gospel of reforestation and conservation is even older than me.
True. True.
Why do you think it has failed to sink in and we are not seeing it in reality?
I bring the point back home to the value seen in these trees.
Just that.
People will be hesitant to cut down their mango tree, knowing that next time when we don't have a good season, the mangoes could save us.
Some 4 months to come.
Yes. So if I see, I'm putting myself in another person's shoes. If I see a tree just as a tree without any value,
you will cut it.
I mean, so that's why there is the increment in the forest cover now because of planted trees for certain benefits. People plant pine, people plant eucalyptus for poles.
Yes.
Transmission power lines. People plant the fruit trees so that they have food. People plant those commercial trees, cashew nut, macadamia, Hass avocado, because of the income, the revenue they hope to generate. So reforestation should look at forestry holistically, but look at what valuable trees do you want to promote that the people will embrace, because they will know there's some value we're going to get out of this.
Thank you so much. His name is Dr. Adrico John, and we're really having a good discussion here. If you are somebody that follows forestry and whatever it connects to, you must be following clearly, and you have a lot to join, to say or join the discussion. Let's take a short break. Please keep it with us.
Do you hear it? Do you see it?
In Uganda, Tanzania.
That's the sound of business in a developing economy.
For UBC News,
Charlotte Amuge in Kampala.
Catch the weekly business roundup every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. only on UBC TV, inspiring Uganda.
Every marriage has 100% chances of succeeding. You know why? Because God created marriage, and God never creates failure, and God never designs anything to fail. Every marriage has 100% chances of succeeding. Is your marriage struggling and you're wondering whether it will ever succeed, whether you will ever make it, whether it's even worth holding on to? You got to tune into Unlocking Marital Bliss, because right here we provide the keys to unlock the bliss in your marriage, and you will be able to succeed. We've had testimonies, and lives are changing day by day.
marriage must be a discipline. It must not be handled like a casual thing.
As women, when we have the outward expression, even our form of respect is tied to the outward things that you do.
Some women now have working class. They don't know how to handle their husbands because the marriage has become like question and answer marriage. Do you have any tea? Don't you have hands to prepare it? Why have you come back late? Did I take your blanket? It's question and answer marriage.
Not any other place, but every Sunday, 3 p.m., right here at UBC, with the one and only Cyrus Rod, not any other.
Unlocking Marital Bliss.
UBC One-on-One, thank you so much for watching and welcome back from the break. We are paying attention this time round to forestry as a notion, as a sector of value to our lives as mankind. We may not know, but that's the truth. So how do we uphold it, especially as a factor that connects with food security? You have heard how the United Nations and all those international bodies are running up and down because of food insecurity all over the world. We are a country that is cutting trees down every day because of different reasons. Are we not taking the wrong path? That's why such discussions are of value. My guest is Dr. Adrico John. He's the Director for Research, National Forestry Resources Research Institute. That's NAFORI. I'm sure the abbreviations are more common than the titles in their length. Now, Doctor, how do you think we have upheld forestry? Have we tried anyhow, or we are in the negatives? I'm talking about Kampala, Mbarara, Gulu, Masaka, Mpigi, Iganga, Uganda. Have we tried? Would you give us any positives on the score?
I would say we have actually done something. I think
in the line of reforestation, after knowing that actually we are cutting down trees, are we trying in the line of taking precautions that come internationally? And these days I hear there are people that are saying, is it IMF? They're
European
testing
Union.
coffee.
Yeah, European Union.
If your coffee was planted on land where trees were cut,
Yes.
we are not buying.
Yeah, that's
Are we
the EU.
taking such precautions?
Yeah, I think I wanted to say, firstly, I want to applaud the National Forestry Authority,
Okay.
NFA, that really worked tirelessly to try to conserve forests. At least even where forests are depleted, they gave people licenses and permits to do plantation forestry, where they could plant some of the tree species given over a period of time. I think that's one of the avenues, I should say, we've gone the right way, promoting the planting of trees. Of course, again, through NADS and Operation Wealth Creation, I think there's been massive distribution of seedlings,
Okay.
of different tree species. All that contributes to forestry.
Okay.
All that contributes to forestry. But again, what is driving all these movements is trees with clearly seen or recognized commercial benefit, commercial value.
So in
it
the
has-
obvious sense.
Yes. So that has been what has been promoted. Those have been the drivers of, I could say, conserving forests. But the appeal is to go beyond these that seemingly have the food value, the commercial value, because the other trees will last 25 to 50 years before you exploit them, maybe for timber or other purposes. But I think in the face of promoting these ones which have value for food, value for income, let's look at the long-standing trees as well in the conservation efforts. So I would say yes, there have been some efforts. Yes, you talked about the EU regulation.
Yes.
That they will not buy
Coffee
Coffee.
that was grown
yes, and that
at
stands.
land was previously a forest.
And that stands because they are trying to make sure they are not buying products of deforestation, which to me is a good thing. So we need to be cautious as we expand agricultural land,
Okay.
so that we are not destroying forests in the name of increasing or improving food security. And later on, the climate change impacts associated with deforestation will outweigh the benefits that would have come from increased agricultural lands opened. So I think it's important for us to balance between this. So from the government perspective, yes, government has put in efforts from the forestry sector, Ministry of Water and Environment, and then also from the agricultural sector, NADS, Operation Wealth Creation, and now also I think the agricultural ministry is deliberate, promoting these what we would call trees of commercial value. They can also stay up to 100 years. Macadamia, has avocado, even the jackfruit, cashew nut, which are being promoted by the government, are in a way rebuilding or replenishing the forest cover. So I think we are moving in the right direction, but on individual basis, we still have a challenge. Because you'll go and buy land, nobody is there to regulate whether you leave the tree on it or you destroy the tree on it.
You choose
Yes, it's
whether
up to
to
you.
cut it or keep it.
Yeah. So there's no such regulation prohibiting me, if I've bought 10 acres of land, to keep the trees there. Maybe those are the things that need awareness creation and yeah, some kind of guidance. It's very hard to have an enforcement of such a thing. You've bought it, it's your property. So that's something to deal with.
At the start of this discussion, you talked about, you suggested that if somebody is going to plant maize or such crops,
Yeah.
allow some trees to keep some trees there.
Yes.
Concurrently with the maize.
Yeah.
You also mentioned some other reforestation kind of measures.
Yes.
What other best practices would you share with Ugandans that really embrace and believe that we need the trees around?
So it's not just a matter of planting trees.
Mm.
One of our programs here, I'll talk a little bit in detail about Nafori in a moment.
Yes.
One of our programs is called the agroforestry program. And it looks broadly at the interaction between trees and crops, the interaction between trees and animals, such interactions. So it's not just a matter of saying, okay, bring the trees on the maize field. No, they will actually be able to give you the recommendations that this tree would actually fit in this setting. And also, the trees at the edges. Now, windbreaks. I know the weather or the winds are so strong lately, and they're destroying people's fields and people's farms. So what happens is they will give you recommendations. What do you use as windbreaks? What do you use as nitrogen fixing trees? What do you use for different purposes on farm? So that's a group doing research year in, year out on how trees can be integrated in farming systems. So that's the approach that would be taken if you want to introduce trees, not just a matter of saying, okay, Dr. Drico said, introduce trees. Now we're going to put our eucalyptus.
You don't just do it anyhow.
No. You don't do it anyhow.
Okay.
Yeah. And we can provide that information. And you listener and anybody watching, our institute is open. You can come and get every kind of guidance with respect to the things I'm telling you right now. Yeah.
You talk of research and other measures. Who do you think is not doing enough? I don't want to sound like I'm pointing fingers or blame who, but we need the information. Who do you think is not doing enough or is doing what is not right in as far as our forestry sector is concerned? Is it you, the researchers? Is it us, the Ugandans, who lack the information? Who do we need to call back to order?
I will not bet on who to put to order. But what I would say is the communication is not yet adequate. Because NFA will run after people. You're encroaching on forests. You're encroaching on forests.
Yes.
And people will scamper, people will run away, they will impound some bags of charcoal. So that's the kind of thing. But where is that interface with the different stakeholders? For me, what I see is important is a dialogue. Let's come to a sitting table and discuss why it's important for us to all have a shared responsibility of conserving our forests. I think instead of, they say the carrot and the stick, instead of the stick, let's see what carrot approach. Please, let's give people seedlings. Let them go and grow them. Let them go and plant them.
And empower whoever is trying.
Yes. So for me, I would say it's a dialogue. It is promotion. It is advocacy. It is awareness creation. Other than enforcement all the time. And of course, as from research, we need to build the knowledge base which will be used for the awareness creation. So that's what we do in this place. We try to build a knowledge base that is going to support awareness creation efforts by NGOs. We work with lots of NGOs, by the government sector. So different players, even the private sector, we work a lot with them.
I was actually coming to that.
Yeah.
Yes, you work with different people.
Yeah.
But how do you disseminate your findings, your information with the different people at the different levels? Because people that are practicing at different levels. How you deal with an NGO I don't think it's the same way you will deal with a small farmer deep in Chiboga. How do you do that?
So, in our implementation of activities or implementation of projects, we usually, and that's more or less, I could say, development partner policy. You've got to work with different stakeholders. It's a requirement for you to have an activity or to have funding for activities. So many times our stakeholders in our engagements include the government, they include the NGOs, they include the private sector players. We do not do research like in a vacuum. The research that we do is demand driven. It is customer, you could say customer oriented. It's research that should actually benefit the end user based on their needs. So that's how research is done. So it might not be possible because of our capacity, for instance, human resource that we have here, for people to go everywhere and talk to everybody. But we work through the structures that are in place. We work with the districts. We work with the Ministry of Water and Environment. We work with the different players at the different levels, with the NGOs, especially NGOs that are promoting environment aspects, climate change aspects. We work with them in promoting these efforts. So we don't work in a vacuum. And we don't just do research for the purpose of innovation. No, we do research that meets needs. And that's the underlying thing about the research that we implement. So yes, somebody as an individual might seemingly miss out, but the structures that are within the government or the structures of some of the organizations will try to make sure even that grassroots farmer is benefiting.
Take some information home.
Yes.
How many facilities are you running as Nafori, apart from this one, in terms of forestry?
Nafori has only this center for now, but we have a facility which we are praying and trusting that it will become one of our satellite centers. It's in Mbale, in Mbale city, and we're looking at it to help with research in forestry for fragile ecosystems, like the Mount Elgon area. You've known over time there's been disasters in that area. So we have that facility that we are hoping to make a proposal to the Narrow Governing Council to approve it to become one of our satellite centers that will especially focus in forestry research in fragile ecosystems.
How much have you taken advantage of schools and institutions where we have young people that may need this information and grow up with it?
Yeah, we interface with schools a lot. Actually, tomorrow we're expecting around about 8 schools to come in the commemoration of the International Day of Forests to just come and learn. And they keep coming here for tours. They keep coming here to learn basic issues about forestry, how you raise a seedling, how you plant a tree. And it's an exciting moment for them to be able to practically do these things. And that's what's going to happen as we celebrate this. We have a special moment for them to be able to appreciate forestry. And there are primary and secondary schools that we're dealing with. Of course, students from universities and from Nyaweya come here also for internship, industrial training. So we kind of build their capacity through the different settings.
Let's talk about the commemoration itself.
Yeah.
What is it about and the content in it?
The day is to just remind ourselves of trees and food. Like I detailed earlier on, how trees are beneficial for food. That's what we're going to talk about. And then we're going to have a look at our fields where we're doing collections of trees for food, collections of macadamia, collections of avocado, collections of cashew nut, different collections, jackfruit, different collections, because as a research institute, we also have a responsibility of generating new varieties. New varieties that will be more resilient, that will be more high yielding, that will be disease resistant. So we have to collect diversity. We call it diversity. We have to collect different types, put them in one place, and so we have material to start breeding processes.
Okay.
And then also we can test this in different agroecological zones and say, this macadamia variety will work in West Nile, but it can't work in Karamoja. This avocado type will work here, but it cannot work in the other place. So we're going to look at that diversity of our trees for food. We are going to participate together. Now that will be with the students. They are going to participate in planting an acre of avocado.
Okay.
So an interesting thing for them. It will be a great thing for them. And then also going to just take a walk, a forest walk, and appreciate how beautiful a forest can be and how nice it can be to dwell in a forest.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Yeah.
What would be your message to a Ugandan watching TV right now in as far as valuing forestry is concerned?
That go plant a tree. If you can start with a tree a year, that's good enough. If each one of us, our population is now over 40 million.
Yes.
If each one of us goes and starts to plant a tree a year, we will drastically increase on our tree cover and change the climatic circumstances we are facing right now. So I would want to encourage you, go plant a tree. But you can visit us and we guide you wherever you want to plant that tree. Sometimes we also have corporate social responsibility. When you come for inquiries, we can give you one tree seedling for you to go and plant wherever you want to put it up. We should be able to do that. So I want to encourage everyone, let's go plant a tree. If you feel you don't want the tree that will last for 100 years, you'll not see its value, you'll be well gone by then, get one that will offer you food or health.
As long as it's a tree.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you.
His name is Dr. Adriko John. He is the Director for Research at the National Forestry Resources Research Institute, NAFORI. And I will not repeat what he said. Just value that tree that you look at, and when you value it, you will also plant another one or plant a second one. It can even be the 100 of the ones that you have planted. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa with Davis Kamukam and the whole team. We wish you the best of the night. Bye-bye.